and welcome to the final call. My name is Melissa Alexis and I am the administrator for the final call. And today I would like to talk about certain concepts that you necessarily may not learn in school, but life will teach you these things. Necessarily to say, school is the institution, but life is the teacher. My first topic of conversation will be how to develop good communication, listening skills, and emotional intelligence. Now, when we think of communication, we have to think about what types of communication we are using and where we would like to use those forms of communication. So it could be when we're in school talking to our friends, whether it be at home with our family, friendships outside, your workplace, and even in relationships, and even to younger children. The types of communication that we might come across in our daily lives would be non-verbal communication, so that could be with your eyes, with your body, certain gestures you want to communicate a sense of importance or subtlety. Verbal communication, so you're actually like I'm talking now, you're using words to state a fact or state an opinion of something, or visual communication where people learn through pictures or moving stimuli in their environment. So like a storybook, when you're reading to a child, they may not understand the words that are in front of them, but if they see the pictures, then it will help them. And also written communication, whereby if you are writing an email for a job and you were applying, you need to maybe write a cover letter or a CV or something to just state a level of importance in the situation. And so when we do decide to use those structures, or we do decide, like, let's say we're going to go and write, be verbal and be visual in our conversation, we have to think what are like the standards that we need to uphold each time we do communicate. So I do have 8 sort of standard skills that I believe communication would be important for, if you didn't use any of these, then your communication might be lacking. So the first one will be to be concise, and what I mean by that is you need to make sure that whatever information it is that you are trying to communicate, make it clear, make it straight to the point. Don't go around the bend and hope that somebody understands what you're trying to say. Number 2, you have to be clear. And what that means is have like a, how do I say it? Put it in a way that even if the relevant information is there, again, you're not waffling, you're making sure that every part of what's important to you is communicated. So you need to know what's the who, the what, the where, and even how you came to that conclusion when you're telling somebody something. You also have to be coherent, or have a logical way in which you do. Don't jump straight to the end of the story, because people will be like, where is it that you believe I'm going to understand what you're saying if you don't start with the beginning of what you're trying to tell me? And then you also have to be coherent, or not coherent, but be inclusive in what you're saying. Don't try to list your knowledge of the Oxford Dictionary or your English language if somebody doesn't understand what you're saying. Use clear language, words, so that you don't alienate people or you make people lose interest in what it is that you're talking about. Because if it's something important and then somebody comes back to you and says, well, I understood A, but B and C didn't make sense because you decided to go advanced in your level of language, then it's basically useless, and you may have to go back and have to explain yourself time and time again, and guaranteed you may get irritated in yourself. And also be courteous. Don't think that just because you may be saying the right thing but you have the wrong tone in which you're trying to communicate it, that people have to listen to you. It's not necessarily the case. Always be polite or professional or even just friendly, depending on what it is that you're talking about. And lastly, be factual. everybody likes gossip at some point, but if it's something relevant to you or an important factor by which somebody's going to learn something from it, have the relevant information. And if you just don't know, then don't say, don't speculate, don't give assumption, because somebody can run off with that assumption and then they come back and believe, oh yeah, but I believe that was true because you said it with, and you conveyed it with such passion and such confidence, but you could be telling a bold-faced lie and it wouldn't go well down in your own spirit, as to say. Why is communication important for us? I believe communication, first and foremost, that if we didn't have the ability to talk, then life would basically be boring. Even if you are a silent person, sometimes your words have to be heard. So I've listed a few reasons why communication is important, but the main reason why communication is important, because it builds rapport. Now, rapport is the idea of when two people or groups of people communicate, there's a harmony that goes on between each other. And when you listen and you understand each other, then it strengthens the bond that you develop with maybe a friend or a loved one, or maybe as a teacher, you're teaching students, you make students want to engage with you and consistently want to make sure that they get your opinion as a teacher, because they know that they like you and you like them, and they care and you care about what it is that makes them a better student, as to say. And then the second one will be that if you don't have good communication, you run into the idea of getting into an argument. So when you have good communication, you avoid conflicts, you avoid arguments, you avoid being misunderstood. Half the time, communication fails because we misunderstand each other. And when we misunderstand, if let's say you're a shy person, you may feel that if somebody doesn't get what I'm saying, then it's likely that I may be silent, or I may just not want to speak about something again. Or if you're a short-tempered person, you're automatically just going to be like, oh wow, if you don't understand, that's it, I'm not talking about it again, and I don't think you're the best person I should be explaining myself to. So when you come with an agenda that is clear and concise and you know the facts, people will have no reason to say, okay, well, he's not making any sense, or he doesn't get what I'm telling him. It's there and I just take it as it is, as to say. And the third reason for why communication is good is because it improves your skills as a listener. When you think that you could be saying so many things and not saying anything at all, and when you do decide to just shift the perspective and think about what is it that I'm actually listening to, can I convey the same topic back to another person if I was asked to teach that same thing that somebody else may be trying to tell me? It also makes you understand that there's a value in everything that somebody is saying. Maybe it's not necessarily what you want to hear, but if you take the time to listen, then you prove the sincerity of something, or you make it seem that to you that somebody can trust you and rely on you, and you allow them to be vulnerable instead of saying, oh, you're not worth my time and I just can't be here to listen to what you're saying. And it will challenge what you do hear from what you don't hear. If you ask a question and then you still don't understand, it's like, okay, was I listening well? So your ability to keep asking questions shows that not only are you able to communicate the same thing back, but your listening skills are high up in there, and maybe you can teach others how to listen better to you. How is it that we become good listeners? So your first thing will be your body language. Don't sit there slouching or rolling your eyes or distracting yourself, getting up and down, blah, blah, blah. Don't do that. Sit there, put your body towards the person that is that you're trying to talk to, or sit up straight. Get your eyes focused on the thing that's in front of you. That way you make it easier for the person who's speaking to feel more confident about what it is that they're talking about. 2, think about the tone as to which you're going to say what you need to say. Don't interrupt the person, and make sure that you ask purposeful questions if and when you need to interrupt, otherwise it will come across as very rude. And most importantly, try to listen to understand. Don't just listen to respond. It's important that as we're listening, even if we don't have anything to say, we understood what that person was trying to communicate to us. They maybe like when you're a child and your mum or your dad is trying to teach you something, if you just said, I don't want to hear it right now, you may miss out on something that might be vital to you in the future. So make sure that when you listen to understand and you actively listen, not just close off your ears and hope for the best that you remember something. Traits of a bad listener would basically be the opposites of what I just said. So somebody who's always interrupting. They love the sound of their own voice. They just have to have their voice heard in everything. And while that might be a good trait and may come across as, oh, this person knows it all, it then makes other people feel inferior. Like, okay, this person's always talking, so I'm just not going to talk because they always got something to say. Don't give off judgmental vibes, or your aura is something that is like, yeah, I ain't got the time for this right now, or yeah, maybe another time might be best for me and you to have this serious conversation. Try to at least say to yourself, maybe if I show a little bit of empathy, I might understand something about myself at the end of the day. Don't give unsolicited advice either. Sometimes maybe your perspective on something might not be the perspective that someone needs to hear. Think about, if you were in their shoes, what would you want them to do? Don't show deflective behavior. This happens a lot in relationships, as to say, sometimes you feel that your partner's issue isn't important to your relationship and you might brush it off and say, yeah, and then it might creep up again and again and again. And because you didn't address it the first time, when it comes to actually now having to address the situation, the severity of what might be coming out of your partner's mouth might not be something that you can handle, and you might just blow the whole thing out of proportion altogether and say things that you may not necessarily have meant at the time. So how do we implement the skills of being a good listener? Practice how to be present and active in a conversation. Try not to interrupt and speak with a good tone. And lastly, learn how to be attentive. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a conversation, but learn how to take care of something, whether that be, I don't know, your room or your younger sibling, or maybe a small project that you're working on. Notice where you slack on keeping up with something, and notice where, when you know how to make something successful, take those same traits and apply them to your conversation, and maybe your conversations might be a bit more fruitful or entertaining or purposeful. The other topic that I want to focus on that brings those two things together would be having emotional intelligence. Now, emotional intelligence is the ability to have and regulate your own emotions plus the emotions that other people have, and noticing how they also operate in their own environments. Before I get to emotional intelligence, I would also like to say that if you want to be an effective listener, then there are 2 points that I will highlight here for you so that you know how to be better. Think about when you're listening, try to manage the direction of the conversation. Sometimes people just talk and go on and on and on and on, and that is easily one of the ways to lose interest. So if you feel that when somebody's explaining something to you, you can identify immediately what the issues are, highlight those things really quickly and then just say to them, okay, I have the solution for this and I have the solution for that. Listen and see where we can go on. And if there's anything else you feel that you need to elaborate on, then I'm all ears. Also, be intentional with how you want to give yourself to a conversation. There's an important conversation that you have to have with your parents, or you have to have with your boyfriend, girlfriend, or friend or something like that, but they've called you at the wrong time. Think about how you can alleviate that situation. You can easily say to them, okay, I don't have the time right now, but I know I have time for you later on in the day. Give me a call back, or I'll call you back and we can talk about it. Or if you may not have the necessary experience behind what the issue is, you can easily tell them, oh, I might know a person that you can speak to, or I can speak to the person that I know has the best advice on this on your behalf, if you trust me, and I can come back to you with the relevant information. Or sometimes you can just say, you know what, I may not be experienced, but I will give you the best advice that I can. All of them are reassuring to the person to say that, okay, I know this person sees me as important and they want to help me. They're not just brushing me off all of a sudden because we have our differences, as to say, or we're not best friends, or it's the time and place is not necessary. A busy person always has time, no matter how much is in their schedule, and if they're important to you, then they'll always try and make time for you. Okay, and a bonus point that I would like to add in terms of being a good listener, try to be discreet with the information that is being given to you. Sometimes we feel like, oh, this might be juicy, and I hope that I can tell my friend this as well, so we can talk about it with ourselves, because we wouldn't do that thing if we were in that situation. But sometimes certain information is so private that would you want that, if that was you, would you want that same information to go around about you? So remember that if there's people around you that you can trust, then talk to those people, because sometimes certain personal information, if they get a hold of it, they can verify your character in future. If somebody says, oh, how do you know this person? What do you know about this person? Is this person a good person? But in the wrong hands, it can also put you up as prey to gossip and people's judgments that they may just pass up on you, but they may not necessarily know you, and that's not always the best thing, because for your own mental health, if people know certain things that not necessarily true, you have to always go out of your way to prove something to people, when necessary you don't always have to prove something to everybody. It's just prove it to those who matter to you the most. You have a lack of empathy or insensitivity to everyday situations or concerns that people might address with you. You almost are either combative, or you just can't reach a place where you can agree to disagree. You just have to be right in everything. Whether that may be your ego, or you're a bit narcissistic, or whatever it may be, you're insecure in your own behaviour. So if you get your point across and have everybody agree with you, then you can feel good about yourself. And that, again, is not necessarily the best way to develop good relationships with people. And then you have also a lack of accountability. You may not always be right all the time, but when you apologize and you recognize your own patterns and behaviors for certain things, you show a level of maturity. People always look for maturity, whether it can be the smallest thing or a huge responsibility. When you prove you're mature, you get far. So why is it that we have emotional intelligence? Or why is it important to have emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence improves your confidence as a person. The idea shifts from you always being self-centered or everything is about me to what other perspectives can people offer? What is it that I have to learn that I may not be ready to know in life, or I haven't equipped myself in life for? It makes people perceive you as somebody who's logical, who's stable, who's reliable, and also it puts you in a good light for maybe in the workplace. If you display emotional intelligence, you might be put up for promotions or places of leadership or responsibility, or people might say, okay, I know this guy and I know this woman, she does her job very well and she knows how to manage me and people around me, and I want to recommend you to her. I mean, at the end of the day, when you have good references, then you can go far as well. And friendships and relationships rely on emotional intelligence a lot. Specifically, you're in close contact with maybe one person or a small group of people, and when you display such skills, people automatically feel comfortable in your presence. They don't feel like you're going to judge them. They can be vulnerable, they can have fun with you, but they know that you can be sensible and trustworthy when it comes to adapting to certain situations or shifts in life when you develop your friendships and your relationships with people. So how do we apply these skills to everyday life? Well, first of all, just think about setting a good example. No matter what you do, at some point in life, you will be inspiring somebody somewhere. So try to come correct in a lot of situations that you put yourself in. It's better to be respected than to be liked at the end of the day. Because to gain respect from people, you have to do a lot. You have to prove yourself, and even in the smallest gestures, it says a lot. And also, think before you act, and pause before you speak. It will help you just articulate your thoughts very well and avoid confusion about certain things. When you have a good character, when you show good actions, you demonstrate a good character, and then you can walk away with a good conscience. And I think that's a good ethos to live by, even if you aren't the best of people. So in summary, communication, having good listening skills, and emotional intelligence, it can be viewed as the triangle of connection. They do not coexist without each other. When you have emotional intelligence, it guides your feelings, and when you listen, you create mutual understanding. And when you show emotional intelligence, you create the channel through which communication can come through and allow yourself to be heard. So I hope everything that you have learnt today has proven vital, or I've communicated it well to you. And if there's anything you want to look up on further, then feel free to do so. And thank you for listening.